Sorry about that.
This is the
Okay, go,
Neoliberal
go
No
ahead.
worries.
Podcast.
Finish the point. Yes, sorry about that.
It's all right. No, my point is pretty simple. We're talking about vengeance,
Yes.
okay, and vengeance is an attitude. Justice is a different thing. Letitia James ran on the idea that if you elect me, I'll go after Donald Trump for whatever I can. I think in that respect, there you would have to agree that that is not healthy, and that's not something we should be engaging in. So for her to get caught, by the way, it wasn't just the Trump administration that got alerted to that, but for her to get caught doing a similar style fraud, which what Donald Trump did was not fraud. What she did was actual fraud. Remember, the nobody testified to it being fraud in the Donald Trump case that Letitia James brought. The bank said we weren't defrauded. Nobody wanted to go after him for that, but Letitia James did, and did it again, along with other people that did not want Donald Trump to disrupt the cabal of people who were ripping us off. And I say Republican and Democrat, uniparty people have been accumulating power and stealing from us for decades. And Donald Trump has been consistently, since back in the days of appearing on Oprah, saying the same thing, which is we've been being ripped off and we've been given a rotten deal.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers the question there.
Yes, and but it seems it's a politics of vengeance, which does not seem which but I'm a theologian. I'm a pastor as well. I study theology, philosophy. But when I think about as leaders, say for example, what in the scriptures they say people are still calling uh, Rachel the harlot, although she's no longer the harlot. Um, and then the question will be, how would Jesus respond to those who have to those who have caused him ill? Jesus went on the cross, yes, and that's how
Mm-hmm.
he dealt with it. So if we are going to be talking about promoting Christian virtues and principles and do what Jesus did, as someone who is following Christ, how would Christ treat Letitia and the Trump University people, and as a leader now because he's leader of the U.S.
Well, that's an
And
interesting
Ricardo, could you come back on, please? We are still on the Zoom meeting. Thanks. Go
that's
ahead.
an interesting, yeah, that's an interesting hypothetical, and I appreciate it. Jesus's purpose, though, you have to understand in those moments by forgiving the woman, at the well, or saying, those of you who are without sin cast the first stone. I mean, he was doing things to teach us lessons in those moments and provide for us an example. Jesus also, went into the temple and overturned the money changers' tables and displayed a righteous anger in delivering what was a justice at that moment. So you are mischaracterizing Jesus if you say Jesus is love. Because what you're doing is you're not being honest about what love is. And for us to reorder our country towards a strong moral foundation again, we do need to exact not a vengeance but a justice upon the people who disrupted that and who have fragmented our society and those that have divided us. Is Donald Trump perfect? No, of course not. Am I a guy who thinks Donald Trump is our Messiah? Of course not. But we still have to have justice delivered, and we still have to have those ministers of justice like Kash Patel and others that are going about the process of investigating the crimes that other people did, including spying on Donald Trump's campaign. I mean, there was things that we know beyond a shadow of a doubt happened, existed, and people need to answer for them.
Okay. Say for example, I wanted to make the point. Say for example, so so you support Donald Trump's action, then you call it, and you see it as God's justice, exacting justice. So Donald Trump's position at a time like this represents God's justice, God's whipping his people back to where they need to go. That, do you believe so?
Well, I wouldn't say it or use that framework. We nation of laws, and we do need to return to law and order here in this country, and we do need to balance back to a time where, in years past, in old administrations, the sins of the previous administration, the things that people did that maybe should not have been done or were questionable, we moved on from that. We had an orderly transfer of power from one administration to the next. That changed after Donald Trump's first term. We've never had people do what they did to Donald Trump after his first term. I think by Donald Trump giving a little bit of taste of their own medicine is healthy in terms of potentially, and I hope it does, return us to a time where we settle all that down and we get back to the traditional orderly transfer of power that we used to have. But our country has been fragmented. It has been um, uh, undermined by decades of global interference and all the things that we talked about at the beginning of the show. And I think that we have a chance to reorder that and reestablish the sovereignty of the United States again.
All right, and and I did, there are various, and we talk about Christians, but there are various perspectives on Christianity, and there are various perspectives on what on morality as it relates to the Bible. I have a question for you. 5 years ago, I blogged, and we're coming to the end. I wrote that a great civilization is not conquered from without until it has destroyed itself from within. I was reminded of this while watching the Prime Video movie Apocalypto. And someone had said if Trump, the GOP, and MAGA want America to be great again, they may want to first stop the bleeding from within instead of applying tactics that exacerbate the wound and destroy what's left of American greatness, like that of the Mayan kingdom. And then it says great civilizations fall because of leaders and their supporters who share and defend their wild ideologies that put people against each other and stifle diversity and liberalism. A great America is a strong America that looks out for all its people so that they can be resolute in defending any attack from without. I won't be too, one more second and then I ask you a question from this. Black lives matter and so does white lives. Women are independent and firm, just as their male counterparts. And the freedom to express our uniqueness in various forms without denigrating or denying any one expression over another is valued and protected so as to strengthen our unity in spite of our diversity. So my question to you is this. If unity feels impossible, where do we begin? What's the first act of rebuilding trust from your perspective? Because I know you said that
Well,
I know what you have said, but still you believe that we are not divided. But yet there are those who believe that, and there's a sense of there's that sense there. So where do we begin in terms of rebuilding the trust from your perspective? Because maybe it's a loss of trust. Where do we begin? In the leadership, where do we begin?
yeah,
What's the first step?
yeah. So we begin by having conversations again, which is what Charlie Kirk was doing. We though I will tell you this: we do need to eradicate the poisonous left wing ideology that says, girls can decide that they're boys and vice versa. Men can get pregnant, all of those sort of things that were destabilizing because liberals and conservatives can get along. And that's where we are not as divided as you think. And there's a healthy little parameters that we keep each other in by having liberals and conservatives. The Overton window moving so far to the left to destruct destructive ideologies like collectivism and communism and socialism and things like that, that is what has destroyed America. If we are going to rebuild, those ideologies need to be destroyed. Those aren't just the differences of opinion. Those are poisonous pills that destroy a free and capable society. Those are poison pills that rob us of prosperity and will put us in chains. That's what needs to be eradicated, and I will join in the effort to eradicate that ideology. And how we do that is by conversation. How we do that is by education. How we do that is by exposing those poisonous ideologies and kicking out politicians and people that are trying to destroy the family, destroy our liberty, and that is how we eventually bring America back to what its greatness was.
So I like you said our liberty, but not any liberty, a particular kind of liberty. A liberty that says you are to be who we believe the Bible says you should be, not who you believe you should be outside of anything else. So when you talk about individualism and liberty, it's not individualism and liberty that outside of a vacuum. It's not, yes, it is specific liberty and it is specific individualism. Yes.
Yes, we are talking about God's idea of liberty. We're
Yeah,
not talking
but
about
yeah,
a free wanton
but you know,
licentiousness.
yeah, but there are but I just said there are various perspectives even within the Christian faith that has divided it. Even the Christianity that has come to America, even within that, yes. So I'm saying so there are perspectives, but and then the thing is how there are those people who feel strongly about those positions and believe that those positions are justifiable too. So how do we reconcile them then? Because how do we do that?
Well,
The
there are
liberals,
going to be,
like the Rachel
yeah, there.
Maddows of today. How do we reconcile the Rachel Maddow? Are we going to kick her off MSNBC? How are we going to do that?
Oh no, let her be on MSNBC and let the free market decide. You know,
Yeah.
let the free market decide. Remember what happened
Okay.
was during COVID, the free market wasn't deciding. The government was. They were stifling opinions that disagreed with the government narrative. That's where we have to, free market, free enterprise. And I'm not talking about the corporate version of the capitalism that's dominated things, where you have government interference and all of that stuff, and the government putting their thumb on the scale. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about return to a true and free liberty, and you will see good ideas proliferate and bad ideas die. And Rachel Maddow and I have irreconcilable differences, but the market will sort good ideas from bad ideas
Wait,
pretty quickly if we don't have government interfere.
Yeah.
wait. I want to believe in is that on the dollar bill it says we're out of many one. I forgot what the word is, but out of
Yeah,
many.
out of many. Yeah, out of many one.
And I
Yeah.
want to also emphasize that it's un-American if you believe that I do believe that we are united together. We are strong together when we are united. And I feel as though if we have a united front, we have to push that. One other thing we talk about is I do believe in some form of socialism. For example, everyone has it. For example, if you're going to push the idea of abortion is illegal and people shouldn't have abortion, and because we're not having kids in this country, just so you know, all right? How do we push the narrative? I feel as if you're going to push abortion, is illegal. You need to start pushing the idea of America, the state, the government need to start having something to take care of our families. If we're pushing family now and we want them to have kids, I believe I've heard something where in Israel they every time you have family have a child, there's a bank account that's open. So we encourage we encourage healthcare for the mother who is pregnant, so that at the family, that's God principle. The community shall raise that child, should take care of that child, should make sure this country is flourished and we are having babies, because it's not happening. And so if no one wants to have a baby because childcare, every time I keep hearing childcare is so expensive, I'm not having a kid. We're not having a kid. So I know we don't like to hear about socialism or some form of socialism, even though you're not going to have it all 100%. A healthy government needs a little bit of it so that we could encourage the people or give them a nudge to have a kids. And okay, we are going to get rid of abortion when people don't want it. But listen, don't worry. If you get pregnant accidentally, guess what? The state is going to be here because we want to make sure you have that child is healthy, grow up, and he contribute to the American society. What about that?
Well, gentlemen, that is something that we should talk about on another show. Especially
Yeah, we don't have much time.
I'll get to a place.
Hey, but
I'll get to a place. But well, no, I'm not dodging that because I think you have a different definition of socialism than I do. Because we're not talking about no government at all. We're not talking about sharing resources. You know, I'm not a libertarian thinking that we don't, have some collective responsibility in communities. But that is not socialism. And let's do this again, and let's talk in great detail about that, because I think you are imagining an entirely different thing. And I think that I would love to have that discussion, and we could go deep there.
Well,
I write about socialism. I write, and I'm a professor. I teach Marxism and socialism, but we won't talk about that today. My book is, I hope they don't ban my book in Florida because they're trying to develop a kind of thinking. I wrote a book on neoliberalism. And I talk about, and my second book is about to come out on neoliberalism and globalization. And also it touched on illegal immigration. We talk about the issue of immigration and stuff. And of course, when you talk about abortion, I mean, I am against abortion. I am against abortion. I am. I think we have a responsibility and we have a responsibility to ensure that life progress. But how do we do that is something else. But I wrote a book on globalization, and I hope they don't stop my book. But I believe that part of the immigration issue that we have in the country is part of our interest here in America. The satellite countries cannot do and should not do very well. If those satellite countries start to do very well, it's going to affect our economy in a sense. And so we have always promoted policies that affect satellite countries around the like Jamaica and so on and so forth. And so because of that, it has created an immigration. America is like Rome. That's where everybody wants to go. That's important. That idea is important as well. And not only that, and the policy. So,
Agreed.
So when we think about immigration today?
Here, wait, Renaldo, I see what you're saying. You're going to the immigration when you're trying to cover all the topics.
I know we have much time.
I guess what
guys, I've got a hard stop. I want to do this again.
Yes,
let's do this again, and let's go deep. Okay?
Yo, Bryce, thank you, man.
Wait, Renaldo, I have a question.
And I'll give you my direct number, okay?
Wait, Bryce. Another idea. We were talking earlier, and I was telling you I have out of the box idea, and I think that's what's going to bridge the gap. Because I do believe that Democrats, they're always inside of the box. I mean, it drives me crazy, and I believe that the Republicans and Donald Trump has a lot of outside of the box ideas, but sometimes it can be a little bit too outside of the box. But I do support those ideas. But how do you make sure that it's not too outside of the box and rein it in? You know what I mean? Like I do believe in big.
Go ahead, Bryce. Final word.
Well, listen, guys, I would love to do this again. I do have to go. I've got a hard stop. I've got to go. But let's do it again. I'll make sure I have a much better signal for you. And I appreciate you guys having me on. Thank you so much.
Anybody want to reach you? How can they reach you?
Oh yeah.
BryceEddy.com, BryceEddy.com is where you can find my show and leads to everything else. I'm on all the podcast apps. I'm on Rumble. Super Bryce Eddy on Instagram if you want to follow me there. Bryce Eddy 1 on Twitter. All right, guys. Thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much. And I'm Renaldo McKenzie of the Neoliberal Podcast. And of course, joining me was Ricardo McKenzie, the co-host of the Neoliberal Podcast and the executive producer of The Pulse. Ricardo, any words from today? I think Ricardo left. And so perhaps reconciliation isn't about agreement, but acknowledgement. Not sameness, but seeing. If faith can do anything for this fractured world, it's remind us that every voice, every difference, every doubt still belongs at the table. Thank you, Eddy Bryce, or Bryce Eddy, for sitting at ours. I'm Renaldo McKenzie of the Neoliberal Room podcast and YouTube channel. I'm also author of Neoliberalism, Globalization, Income Inequality, Poverty and Resistance. Please visit us at theneoliberal.com and renaldocmckenzie.com. Get a copy of my book at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, or store at theneoliberal.com. And of course, you can give us a call at 445-260-9198, 267-471-8884. Email me at renaldocmckenzie@gmail.com. Of course, we are also at info@theneoliberal.com. Follow us on Facebook, Renaldo McKenzie of the Neoliberal Corporation or the Neoliberal, Twitter, the Neoliberal Co. We're also on Reddit, the Neoliberal Company, the Neoliberal, and YouTube at the Neoliberal or Renaldo McKenzie. But this has been great. Share this show with your friends. Welcome.
Нет войне! Нет войне! Нет войне!